Known as the father of modern education, Johann Pestalozzi had a strong impact on the reformation of the school system. Born on January 12, 1746, in Zurich, Switzerland, Pestalozzi grew up in poverty after the death of his father. His experiences as a child developed in him an acute sense of justice and a determination to help the underprivileged. His lack of financial means did not stop him from entering college and eventually joining a Reformation youth movement, the Helvetic Society, which was centered on the teachings of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Pestalozzi, with several other philosophers, exposed government corruption, which led to him being jailed for several days and essentially ending his political career. Pestalozzi began a new chapter of his life by getting married and attempting to be a farmer in a place called Neuhof. Saddened by the troves of orphan children begging on the street, Pestalozzi decided to take these children to his home and teach them the basics of education so they could have the tools to perhaps better their situation. He said, "My life is devoted to the education of the poor. This is what I seek and nothing else." He later founded several schools, the most successful of which is called Stands, focused on individual student development and learning without any kind of grading system, one of the first of its kind in Switzerland. Despite his initial success, Pestalozzi's ideas were too controversial for the time, and people did not believe that this kind of school would be successful, and further ventures in creating schools weren't successful, and he died a broken man. Pestalozzi believed children had a divine predisposition, and this belief impacted his theory of teaching very greatly. He constructed schools for poor children and worked hard to foster their beliefs in God and to gain knowledge that could help them throughout their lives. He believed that if children were raised right, that they would keep keep their knowledge throughout their lifetimes, and that would impact their characters. According to Fredelaine Bowers and Tom Gehrig, Pestalozzi reformed education by allowing children to interact creatively with their environments and each other while learning the basics of education such as reading, writing, mathematics, and science. His motto was learning by head, hand, and heart, and he lived by and employed this philosophy into all of his schools. Pestalozzi initiated what we would call modern practices such as group work, physical activities, and one-on-one interaction with the teacher. He was opposed to strict schools set aside only for wealthy families that could afford it and that only focused on testing and grades. Rather, he believed that everyone had should have the chance to attend school, and so he focused on filling his schools with needy children, and he also did not have a grading system. Students learned on their own levels, were seen as individuals, and were judged as such. The school and teachers provide only the environment and guidance, respectively, most appropriate to a free expression that allows the natural powers of the child to develop. An important aspect of Pestalozzi's teaching theory was encouraging and teaching children to be well-rounded. Besides educating them in typical subjects, he also taught them foreign languages and how to operate machinery, specifically like farm equipment. And he believed that having these skills coupled with the basic points of education would help these children more in their lives so that they could have a better future. Finally, Pestalozzi believed love should regulate the relation between the teacher and the student, especially as to discipline. He believed in discipline, but he believed that love should be a huge factor in how a child is disciplined. Although his ideas were not accepted during his lifetime, they have actually become the foundation of modern education. Pestalozzi's contribution to education has certainly affected me today, not only in how I was taught growing up, but also how I want to be as a teacher someday. Growing up, like many other kids, I did not want to go to school and sit in the desk all day. I wanted to move and explore, and that's what my teachers allowed and encouraged me to do because of similar to the philosophies of Pestalozzi. Teachers in my elementary schools especially knew how important it was to engage young kids and to treat them like individuals, which was a concept that Pestalozzi firmly believed in. Without the loving guidance of my teachers, I know I would have struggled with school, and I also would not love learning like I do now. When I become a teacher, I hope to be as loving and generous as Pestalozzi was towards children of all kinds. Like Pestalozzi, I believe children have special natures. They have divine natures that deserve to be developed and strengthened so that they too may help others. I want to become a teacher so I can make a difference in a child's life and that I may provide a fun and safe learning environment for them to grow. I plan to adopt many of Pestalozzi's theories and practices, such as initiating group work, creating many hands-on learning experiences, and being open to questions and help from my students. I believe the best way to learn is to experience what you're learning, and I hope to adopt that into my teaching as well. I have learned from my experiences in school that having teachers who truly care about me and my classmates are the ones who have impacted our lives the most, and who have stand out in our minds when we think about like our childhood and growing up. Pestalozzi believed in this kind of standard for teachers in schools to internalize and follow, and through many educational reforms and growth over the years, his dream is finally being realized. Students of any race or financial background can become educated without fear of prejudice or blatant discrimination. Success in schools is not only limited to the grades of its students, but in the quality of the education they receive. Because of Pestalozzi's efforts to reform education, the opportunity to learn is given to every child, and teaching methods have improved drastically to center around the needs of the individual.